Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest on US-South Africa tensions. Pretoria has pushed back as it continues to face strong allegations of racism from US President Donald Trump and his South African-born ally Elon Musk. South Africa has said that it will not engage in megaphone diplomacy with Trump after he announced a halt to all US funding for the nation. Megaphone is a type of diplomacy when leaders conduct negotiations through public statements or social media posts, rather than private, direct talks to resolve disputes. President Trump appears to be using this approach to highlight his concerns over South Africa's land reform policies. Trump claims South African laws are anti-white. Even 7% of white South Africans own more than 70% of the land. In the latest, he announced the freeze in funding to South Africa on his social media platform and reiterated his offer for white South African farmers to relocate to the United States. Meanwhile, South Africa has also rejected a claim by tech billionaire Elon Musk that his Starlink satellite company cannot operate in the country because he is not black. Musk made these claims on his social media platform X. However, South African officials fact-checked him, clarifying that Starlink's challenges in South Africa have nothing to do with his skin color. Instead, the government says that the company is welcome to operate in the country as long as it complies with local laws. Now, Musk appears to be criticizing South Africa's Black Economic Empowerment regulations, which were introduced in the year 2003 to address racial inequality caused by apartheid that only ended in 1994. The policy requires foreign-owned telecommunication companies to sell 30% of their local subsidiaries' equity to historically disadvantaged groups. The South African government points out that over 600 US companies currently invest and operate in the country while complying with local laws. South African technology news website TechCentral has reported that Starlink's parent company, SpaceX, wrote to the telecommunications regulator urging it to reconsider the 30% ownership requirement for licenses. However, the regulator has said that they have not received any formal application from Starlink or SpaceX. Now, Musk, who was born and attended school in South Africa, has recently claimed that he considers himself to be an American citizen, distancing himself from his South African ancestry. He said he grew up as English South African, not Afrikaans, a group of primarily European descent. Despite this, he has repeatedly shared his opinions of South African policies. He has claimed a genocide of white farmers in the country without providing any evidence. So, as Starlink faces regulatory challenges in his native nation, is Elon Musk once again pulling something out of thin air with allegations of racism? Now, for more on this, we have with us Patrick Bond, a political economist, joining us live from Johannesburg, South Africa. Great to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks. Good to be back with you, Alyson.
Now, Patrick, with the US cutting all funding to South Africa and Pretoria's refusal to engage in this, what they call megaphone diplomacy, with Trump's administration, what are the key factors that led to the sharp deterioration in relations, and what might be the immediate economic and political impacts for South Africa?
Well, you know, the Elon Musk factor is absolutely vital because he is giving Trump regular sort of briefings on why South Africa is particularly not a good host country for the G20 this year. We host here in Johannesburg the 20 largest countries, and in fact, Donald Trump inherits that hosting next year. And that's a crucial background because in the first two major ministerial summits in the last couple of weeks, we've had Marco Rubio, the foreign minister, boycott on grounds that he doesn't like the theme of the G20. The three theme words he thinks are woke or diversity, equity, inclusion. Those words are solidarity, equality, and sustainability. So the US is obviously not wanting to move in those directions. The second factor was how important Israel has been to a block of very, very wealthy people around Donald Trump, who've, especially Miriam Adelson, who have been particularly vitriolic, and as has Marco Rubio and plenty of others in the new, let's say, paleo-conservative, but also neoconservative ideological orientation that's so pro-Israel. Don't forget that in February, Donald Trump said he would ethnically cleanse Gaza. And South Africa stuck up and gone to the International Court of Justice. And the precise, let's say, catalyst of the latest round of cuts, which are going to be devastating. We're having a budget this week, and there's going to have to be another roughly $500 million or so found for AIDS medicines and climate and some of the other funds. But the catalyst was a February 25 Foreign Policy magazine article co-authored by Ramaphosa that defended basically a collective project, the Hague Group, which in turn was set up on January 31 against the US sanctions aimed at the International Criminal Court. So in putting that case into a major New York magazine, Foreign Policy, I think what Ramaphosa and the other two leaders, Gustavo Petro from Colombia and Anwar Ibrahim from Malaysia, they really provoked the people around Trump to say, well, now let's just chuck the aid.
Yeah. And how significant is this controversy surrounding Elon Musk's claim that Starlink cannot operate in South Africa due to the regulatory restrictions based on race? And what does this reveal about the broader challenges of the foreign investments and, of course, the regulatory policies in the country?
Well, yes, just as disclosure, I happened to work with Ramaphosa on his Black Economic Empowerment Commission about 25 years ago. So I sort of saw a process in which, unfortunately, the decision was to take existing capital, especially in mining and banking and others, to basically buy in a very few Black billionaires. And there were some objections. So it's now called broad-based Black Economic Empowerment. It still requires for Elon Musk that he find a 30% local partner, and that he helped to fund that ownership. And that's typically done with a loan, and then you're basically paying it back with your profit stream or the increase. And the dilemma for Elon Musk is maybe he's got that old white South African training, which many whites here still have. That is, that there's a racial, let's say, bias, and he doesn't want to have a Black partner. And then the other question that the society isn't yet asking is, if we do have Starlink, which is a much faster internet service with the satellites closer to the Earth, so your speed is increased, and it's worked quite well in some African countries. But of course, Elon Musk is, first of all, known to take data. And that's the big debate, of course, in the US about him getting this DOGE, this Department of Government Efficiency access. But secondly, that he may be a bit desperate. Now, he's just lost $100 billion of personal wealth from about 440 to 340. And his main company, Tesla, went from 1.3 trillion in market capitalization just down to 900 billion. So he's really on the skids. And I think there are a lot of people out there boycotting Elon Musk for political reasons. So he's looking for these new markets. It may well be a very substantial part, since we have 62 million people who could get onto this internet.
Yeah. And considering these escalating tensions, what strategic options does South Africa have to mitigate this fallout from the US funding cut and to maintain its foreign policy priorities without appearing to bow to US pressure?
It really can't do those things together, can it? I mean, it's really three choices. And the first choice is just to succumb. And what we've seen Cyril Ramaphosa do is offer invitations to Donald Trump. Come and play golf with us on our Great Links. Gary Player is a sort of go-between, a great old white apartheid diplomat in the golf course. The second is that you stand up alone and you see if you can withstand that pressure from the US. And many countries have had leaders doing that, and they've folded, and some have succeeded. It's a mixed bag, but it's very difficult for South Africa to stand up alone. The third is to do what I said, the Hague Group, where you have a collective approach. You've got allies, in especially Europe, and it may be that they'd say, look, we're so sick of Donald Trump walking out of the G20, walking out of the UN Climate Summit, walking out of the World Health Organization, wrecking the world economy with these tariffs. Maybe they need to be kicked out of the G20.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup. Hi. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Namaste, Mr. President.
Bharat Kelogon, Komeri Namaste.
How many people generally follow you in interviews?
Typically, in a month, we have viewers up to 150 million. That's more than twice the population of France. And in the last 2 years, we had 3 billion viewers. So I say, Laurent, this is your chance to be famous. You're on Firstpost. One word to describe your equation with Prime Minister Modi.
Amitié.
As India and France work together, are you creating a new era of non-alignment in the technology space?
India is a training superpower. 1 million engineers a year, more than all of Europe and the US combined. So we have that partnership. We have a partnership on the environment and the economy. We also have civilian nuclear programs, and that is something we've developed far beyond the France-India relationship. So we want to work together on AI.
And then comes China with its DeepSeek, creating models at a fraction of the cost. Did that innovation take you by surprise? Did that breakthrough make you sit up and think, what did the Chinese do and how?
But what did DeepSeek do? They took everything that was already available from the last AI model, and then they recalibrated it.
So are you going to ban Chinese AI in France?
So we don't have this American approach of banning tech because of where it comes from.